I was going to say good afternoon, but hello, hello, hello. Hi, you guys. How are you? Excuse me. I am so excited, you guys. As you know, it's been some time since we have pressed pause for the cause. That's the way I'll say it. We've pressed pause for the cause for this show. Let's be clear. And we are back. It's been some months. We haven't aired a show in, I want to say 6 months. But we're back, and I am so excited to be back. And for more than one reason, not just so that I can speak and air out people's dirty laundry, but because I truly believe in my vision and the mission of the show. So when I first started the show, let's be clear, we were only discussing things with couples, married couples.
Yes.
So that's where we started, and it grew from there. And as I went through the process in healing and helping others heal, I was given by God, I didn't just go on my own and take this, but I was given a task to shoot for talking to those who have been divorced. And so that's where we are at today. And I'm so grateful that you have joined me in this series of Life After Divorce. And so today with you, we're going to talk about I Do No Longer Exist. And so you guys, I want you to help me welcome my guest, Mr. Anthony Nix, who has graciously said yes to this call. And so I'm grateful. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the people. Let them know who you are and a little bit about yourself, what you do.
Yes, I just definitely want to extend my heartfelt gratitude for this invitation and being present to be able to share my experiences so that we all can just live and learn from one another.
Yeah.
Again, my name is Anthony Nix. I'm a certified peer-to-peer counselor, and I specialize in teens and young adults. That's my specialty. But I advocate for peer work in all its areas of expertise. I am really welcome and thankful that I'm here to speak about I Do No Longer Exist because, I do have a story to tell. I always tell people that I do have a story to tell.
Yeah.
And that's where I began. I'm a country boy. I grew up in Greenville, Alabama.
Okay. Yeah. The country.
The
real country.
Greenville, Alabama. And how I ended up in California is through a domestic situation.
Okay.
My mother was enduring great domestic violence from my father, who was a career Marine.
Okay.
A violent man suffering from PTSD.
Gotcha.
So in the threat of her life and the threat of us, of our children, or her children, myself and my 4 sisters, we moved to California.
Okay.
So I'm here in California now. Been here since I was at the age of 7. And I love it.
You're a Californian.
Yes, and I love it. I love it since I've been here. But when it comes down as far as relationships, though, typical teen stuff like that, the dating and things of that nature and all of that. But I didn't get married until 12 years back, or 13 years.
Okay.
I've been married for 12, divorced for 1 year.
Okay.
Right. So, yes, that's where the story begins right there.
That's where the story begins for what it is that we're doing. I'm sure you have so many other stories that you would be able to share and help others with. But for today's topic, we are going to talk about what it is that you're currently, or what you were currently going through, And so our topic is I Do No Longer Exist. And I'm just going to jump right out there. At what point did you say to yourself, you know what, I don't? Right? Because who says I do to eventually say I don't anymore? Like, what was the buildup of that?
Yes. First thing I just want to point out, as far as the I do part, and it started with the intentions. My intentions to get married came with the realization that I wanted to be committed to this human being, accountable, responsible, and it be reciprocated to me. I also wanted to be loved and respected. Held accountable, and we collectively be responsible for one another, right? So that realization is what again opened me up to my spouse at the time, where I said I do, and again she in return said yes and she do, right? But what happens with that is, especially in my case, the beginning process of us getting together didn't come with a thorough investigation of who we were as people.
Okay.
And I believe that's one of the key components or factors that ultimately led us to falling out of love with each other, or a change in our perspective, or that realization of I do.
Yeah.
Meaning that we no longer feel committed to each other, responsible for each other anymore. Because I really didn't know her. I met her for poverty. I've known her as far as when it come down to childhood. She was a childhood friend.
Okay.
And we didn't actually find ourselves romantically involved until we was grown adults.
Okay.
Even then, had no interest as far as marriage goes. But when I realized in what we was doing as far as this casual dating and this, hooking up every now and again, that it's getting serious.
Yeah.
It was getting serious. And, and I definitely want to respect her, make sure she definitely know that from my end, I appreciate her. So, it came to mind that we should get married.
Okay.
We should get married.
Okay. let me interject really fast, and then we're gonna get to the question. But because you went back, you did speak about earlier about your parents and how you all ended up here in California. So you witnessed clearly some things that was not the healthiest for relationship or marriage.
I mean, absolutely.
Yeah. So what was your experience? Not your experience. What was your example? Like, where did you get the example of what marriage is? Did you even do homework on that before you stepped into the marriage with your ex-wife?
No. I mean, I feel, just blanket, no.
Okay.
Right? From my childhood experiences dealing with domestic violence and the dysfunctionality of family, period, because I can recall as far as back as I can remember some form of domestic abuse.
Okay.
With my grandparents, aunts, uncles, all of that.
Wow.
There was a lot of abuse in my surroundings growing up.
Okay.
And everyone was married. Everybody stuck it out and dealt with it the best way they could. It was only one case of divorce that I can remember when I was a kid where our uncle and auntie literally separated, got a divorce. But as far as my grandparents and all of that, they just made the best of it.
Okay.
Right. But it wasn't ideal.
Right.
So as far as my education, my early education dealing with marriage, it wasn't the word that I can say from a young mind, because I want to put you on how I was perceiving things as a youngster.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah. Put me there.
Because certain things as for growing up, especially in the country, it's like, certain things just have to be a certain way.
Yeah.
Right. It just have to be a certain way. And marriage is the same way. Marriage is, you just got to get married, and what comes with that, even the complications and things of that nature, you make it work. I mean, that was my orientation. So I didn't know options. I didn't know that, boundaries, because no one talked like that. So, all that I was witnessing from a kid, from afar too, because adults didn't bring you in close.
Yeah.
When there was issues and things of that nature, they make sure the kids stayed away, right? In another room or far away where they perceive you couldn't hear, but we could hear, right?
Yeah.
So if there was conversation about respect, not feeling love, being loved, stuff like that, that part I missed.
Okay.
I wasn't included in that conversation.
Okay.
So I had no idea other than what was expected of me.
Yeah.
So that's to answer your question, is that only thing I knew about getting married was it was expected of me.
Wow.
So it was expected of me.
Yeah. How often are we doing that? How often are we doing things just because it's the expectation, which leads us to, going down the road of where you felt like it's no longer existing in this marriage. So how far in were you in the marriage before you realized, I don't?
Yes. There was red flags, or as they say, telltale signs that I needed to wait. One of the physical things where my mother told me not to. My mother literally told me not to get married. At the time, I didn't doubt her.
Okay.
I just questioned her as far as why.
Okay.
Right. And what I come to learn later on is that my mother didn't want to say nothing bad about the young lady at the time. She really wanted to give her dignity, but she knew that there was things going on with the young lady that I wasn't privy to. I did not know.
Okay.
Even though she was a childhood friend of us, but still, I wasn't paying attention to everything that goes on in people's lives, right? From the outside looking in, she was attractive. She was nice, whatever. So that was good enough for me.
Right. That was
but my mom knew her core issues.
Yeah.
My mom knew her core issues, her abuse when she was a kid, bad relationships, and other things that happened to her that she definitely needed some healing, some therapy, and some other things. Time. She needed time.
Yeah.
Right? Because she was leaving a relationship with her fifth baby's daddy to me, which I didn't understand at the time either. I knew she had 5 kids, but as far as who all their daddy was and all that kind of stuff, again, I want to emphasize she's a family friend, but I didn't know all of that. That wasn't my concern as far as investigation, trying to know, right? But my mother knew.
Okay.
So she knew she came with a lot of baggage, as she described, a lot of baggage that I wasn't ready for, or she felt her son shouldn't have to experience. But because, again, she didn't want to give me details of what she was saying to me about why we should get married, I felt like, okay, I'm grown.
Yes.
I'm grown. It's my decision.
Yeah.
If it come with the good or the bad, I can deal with it. So I felt like I can handle it.
Yeah.
I got this, Mom. There's no problem. If it ain't nothing really crazy, if it ain't nothing real crazy, because you're not telling me nothing.
Right.
So I felt it wasn't nothing really crazy, right? So I jumped right on in there and said, okay.
Head first.
Yeah, I jumped right on in there. But it was actually, living together. I had moved. I was living in LA at the time. She was living in Riverside. So I moved from LA, quit my job and everything, went to live with her. And in that transition of trying to get employed, find another job, and us get situated in our new home, behaviors started to show up. Certain behaviors showed up that I just felt like, it was a concern for me. But I'm a talker. We're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
So I'm asking questions. I'm trying to find out why because I felt disrespected. That's what I'm trying to say. Early in the marriage, I felt like my own wife is disrespecting me.
Okay.
And I got a problem with that part, right? Because I'm like, I can't do that. Right. Because I'm thinking like, I'm trying to love you the best I can. I know I have my struggles because I quit my job and all that, trying to find a new job. And I'm doing the best I can. I'm not staying around home, not playing video games like they describe the typical, guy that just feel like, in his depressive state, he don't want to get back out there and get it done. He just want to, stay in this little mode. But I was out there trying to make it work. So the work was coming. But again, she was very challenging, very disrespectful, boisterous. And so when I was trying to resolve it verbally, when I was trying to, communicate and resolve it, it seemed like it was even getting worse.
Okay.
To the point to where it's like, man, if we can't talk about this, we can't figure this out. You're not even giving me a chance. You're not even being graceful.
Yeah.
And we just said I do. 6 months.
So 6 months was the point.
It was 6 months when I had to
6 months.
I had
that's
to rethink.
Still the honeymoon phase. Y'all supposed to still be whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah, but that's when that realization I had in the beginning of loving someone and be reciprocated, them loving me, I changed. 6 months in, I realized that I might not be the right man for her. I didn't want to put it on her. I didn't want to put the responsibility.
Because that's my question, Anthony. So in those 6 months, right? Did you see you somewhere in there? Like when I say, did you see you? Like, were there some things that I probably could have done this differently or not done this at all? Did it add to, or this was just, you can unequivocally say that this was a her thing as far as those first 6 months?
No. One thing I have to admit to, again, coming into this at the age we wasn't that young now. She was in her mid-30s. I was almost 40 myself.
But you look almost 40 now. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, but I still was immature.
Gotcha.
Now, I want to point that out. I did have some immaturities about myself that definitely in this whole challenge of being married, I had to face about myself, about being immature, and I had to make some correctives. I had to change some things about myself.
Mm-hmm.
So, because initially I came into this relationship a little bit more dominant than I should have been.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean by that, I had adopted some of my dad's characteristics unknowingly.
Oh yeah, that's.
I mean, but unknowingly, I didn't know that I'm behaving like my father in some aspects. Right?
When did it click for you? Like, wow, I just saw my dad. Like, when did that happen?
Yeah, because through her behaviors, what brought it out me though, because I didn't know.
Yeah.
That it was dormant or it was in me in the first place. I did not know. Even in my previous relationships, girlfriends and stuff like that. Again, I still had no realization.
Certain people will bring certain things out of you.
Yeah.
Like, where'd that come from?
Yeah. So, but when I realized that how I'm responding to her, with a lack of patience and again, some form of aggressions on occasion, stuff like that became an issue for me because witnessing my mother being abused for so long and just really, really taking issues with that type of behavior in men, I became critical of myself.
Okay.
Very critical of myself. So I really immediately started reaching out to my mentors. I didn't seek therapy out, but I had a lot of people in my life that I can consult with, you know me, about my, concerns.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them again was my responses to her behavior. Right. I don't like how I'm responding to her.
Okay.
Because my behaviors could be threatening, even though I wasn't hitting on her.
Yeah.
I didn't even threaten her nothing like that. But I had such an aggression about me, that at that time that it was being perceived by her as being threatening. Right.
Yeah.
So that was her counter to my complaints. My complaining on how she's behaving and stuff like that was how I was acting.
How you were responding.
Right. So, and I did a deep dive.
Okay.
I did a deep dive. Definitely was making some changes, corrections. Was trying to adopt that patience that I seek. Try to be a little bit more understanding about some things. Stop complaining all the time. Stop focusing too much on her. Really just worrying about me for a second. But when I realized, though, like I say, when I was making all these changes, that she wasn't part of that. What I'm saying is she wasn't working on her issues.
Okay.
I was really working hard on my issues.
Okay.
I was doing whatever it took.
Intentional.
Yeah, because what I realized, I had to change my belief system. Right.
That's where it starts, right there.
I had to change my belief system.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that I was raised on.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, I was raised in an environment where men was being aggressive to women.
Yeah.
So I had to revisit that.
Ooh.
I had to revisit it.
How was that?
Oh, it was crazy because I didn't even realize how dysfunctional or abnormal that really was.
Yeah.
I really didn't.
Wow.
I just thought it was one of those things, just what it is. But when I really realized, that's what actually happened. I started to see the harm.
Wow.
I seen the harm. Again, her being afraid and other things like that, and as far as what caused me to run. Because when things get so heated at times when we was having our conflict, because I had that impulse to act out violently, I would run. Okay. I would leave, drive away, stay gone, stuff like that.
But that was your discipline, though.
Yeah,
that was
trying.
That was not a bad thing.
No,
because you could have stayed in there and it escalate.
Yes,
and it turns into what dad and mom. You know what I'm saying? Yes. So because you began to realize and recognize these behaviors that looked and felt familiar, you were like, okay, the best thing for me to do in this is step out.
Step out, right? But it didn't have context, meaning that needed to be explained.
Yeah.
See, I didn't know why I was like that.
You didn't know why.
I mean, literally, I got so nervous when we got into a fight or an argument that, I just want to run, but I don't know what's compelling me. Why? I just can't stick and have a couple, because she used to say, couples arguing. We're going to fight. You know what I mean? But I couldn't take it. I couldn't take it, not even a little bit.
You want to get physical.
Yeah, I get so worked up, so mad and all that, to where I'm like, if I stay, it ain't going to be good. So I'm out of here. right?
Okay.
So I needed context, meaning somebody had to explain that to me.
Yeah.
Somebody had to explain that to me.
Right. And were you able when it was explained to you, correct?
Well, later, I mean, but
down
years.
The line.
I mean, because initially I just dealt with it. What I mean by dealt with it, she used my exposure of my old issues and stuff like that as a weapon. She weaponized it against me, right? Everything that I was sharing with her on how I was feeling and what was causing certain behaviors out of me, she didn't look at it. I mean, she didn't use it as an understanding. She used it to justify, first of all, her own behaviors, and then again to control the relationship, to control me, right? So I went through some stuff, you know, because I was trying my best as a good person, trying to just make some changes, love my wife.
Yeah.
But it was getting so bad about me not being able to talk to her without, you know, it coming back at me in a way that was harmful, that I really stopped talking altogether.
Wow. You shut down.
Yeah, I just stopped talking.
Okay. And this was still at the 6 month point.
Yes. So 6 months, we was married 12 years. It just got worse.
Let me be clear. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
6 month point is when you realize I do no longer exist. However, you were married for 12 years.
12 years.
So at some point within those 12 years, y'all worked on getting that I do again, right?
Well, I mean, if you can call it that. Okay. I mean, if you can call it that, because I'm not saying we didn't try. Would you call it that? Well, my whole thing is, in that 6 months in, the realization was so strong that we wasn't meant to be together. Right. So that's what I want to make from my view. Yeah. I knew even in those 12 years that we wasn't meant to be together. I knew it.
It didn't fit.
I was absolutely convinced that we wasn't meant to be together.
Okay.
But I made any effort as far as changing my behaviors, trying, like I said, be more patient, be more understanding, be more loving. And again, when things got to the point to where, you know, I can't communicate no more because, you know, it's dangerous, not safe to communicate with her because, you know, again, she was bashing me in my head about everything I shared, everything that, you know, my issues, my vulnerabilities, you know, nobody wants nobody to use that in a way that's hurtful. Yeah. Right. So I'm talking about not talking. So it got to the point to where we just took advantage of the good times. And what I mean by those good moments where we were just both in a good mood and the atmosphere is calm, we took advantage of that. And then when it got into the other thing, we just...
And that was y'all norm.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. What do you say, because you said at 6 months you realized that not so much. And throughout the time, the 12 years, would you say that because of the experience or what you saw growing up, your family members, they just hung in there? You know, you just do it.
Yeah.
Would you say you stayed as long as you stayed because of that?
Well, the only thing that got me out of my marriage, ultimately, when I actually walked away, is she had to verbalize herself that she didn't want to be married no more. She literally had to say it.
Other than that,
I would still be in that marriage to this day.
Unhappy.
Yeah.
Still needing to heal.
Yes.
Wow. And we do that, you know, and as you said, growing up, and a lot of the Southern beliefs are you hang in there.
Yes.
And you don't talk about it.
Nope.
You don't talk about your marriage and what's going on. You just hang in there. And that's what you did. And so when it's funny that your mom gave you advice on she's not it, right? Yeah. And instead of you taking on what mom said, you were like, I got this.
I got it.
I'm gonna do.
You know, I'm a big boy. I mean, you know, again, I know things ain't perfect for us.
Not at all.
So if we come across a rough patch or something, you know, we got this. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I'm a fighter.
Yes, I did not know. You know, even this whole idea, even though growing up in the environment with my dad with PTSD, that also wasn't properly explained to me and my sisters or me and my siblings because that's trauma.
Yes.
And again, it never was explained to us. So I didn't even understand the dynamics of what my own father was suffering from. I did not. I just thought he was crazy. I did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because no one sat you down and said, hey, this is how you define what you see Dad doing, saying, this is what's going on. He is sick.
Yes.
But let me tell you what happened.
That's right.
No one said that.
Yeah, because again, he was a veteran. He was a career Marine.
Yeah.
So he had war trauma.
Yeah, that's
right.
deep.
Yes, but never was explained to us.
Okay.
So all his erratic behaviors, all the things he did as far as sitting me on his lap, telling me all the war stories, killing babies and stuff like that. My dad used to tell me that stuff as a kid, sit me on his lap, and you try to relive that stuff, whatever that was he was going through.
Yeah.
And my mom, all that made my mom nervous, but she never did explain it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, all right. But not having to understand the trauma, though, again, I didn't know that I was suffering in that context. I knew I was suffering, but I didn't know that I was suffering from some past traumas, which got me stuck. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. My traumas got me stuck. That part, I didn't have no clue. That part, I had no understanding whatsoever.
Yeah.
I just thought I was dealing with a bad situation. And again, like I say, there was moments, good times where we just took advantage of it. But when it comes to boundaries, when all of that kind of stuff, none of that.
Didn't have it.
None.
At what point did you start working on the inner you to begin to heal from the trauma of dad's trauma? When did you say, let me do some work within so that I can become a better individual? Because if you were responding to the things that she would do or say or what have you in the way that you did, and you had to leave, was at any point in the marriage did you say to yourself, I got to get some help?
Yes. But it's so much about my story that, again, it's just, I need to share for y'all to put things in perspective of what I'm trying to say to you or what I'm trying to convey is that because from living in an environment with my father and my mother's situation and her finally leaving him, she didn't divorce him. She just left him. They married other people. Trip off this. My mother and father married different people as they were still married.
Oh, wow.
Because they never got a divorce.
Okay.
Divorced the people they was married to get back together. Our parents got back together.
Wait. Pause. Short pause for the cause. Wait, so they separated.
They separated.
Remarried, although they were still married.
Yes.
Remarried someone
different
else.
People.
Broke up with them.
Yep.
Came back together, and we already still married, so we may as well just keep going.
That's what I'm telling you. That's how it happened.
Okay.
I mean, it was just, I don't know. I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
In the sense of where they started and how they ended.
Yeah.
Because my dad did eventually work on his. He wasn't normal like before he went to war. He was never like that again.
Okay.
He still had his issues, but he did. The military did to get his full because he was 100% disabled because of his trauma.
Yeah.
But to get his benefits, he had to go to therapy, and that's what they forced him to therapy.
Okay.
But it helped him.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, speaking of therapy,
yeah.
what are your thoughts about therapy? Because your who you are and what you do today in your career is a
counselor.
You're a counselor. Yes. Okay, does that have any weight on what it is that you went through?
It do, but again, just to bring y'all up to speed, because of the environment. What I was trying to say is that it led me to early incarceration. Right.
Okay.
My behaviors based on my exposure to aggression led me to act out.
You went to jail?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Wow.
I went to jail very young.
Okay.
So that in my environment with the gang culture, I took on a great deal of aggression as far as impulse, and I had a lack of impulse control. So from the age of 11. I was in and out of juvenile hall. I went to a boys' ranch for over a year.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Listen, let me tell you how good God is.
Yeah.
Because I would never, of course, you can look at someone, but I would never be able to have a conversation. I've never, out of all the conversations that you and I have had,
yes,
I never would have put or pieced that together. Never. And so God will do some things where you go through what you go through, but you never look like it. So yes. Congratulations for looking. You do not look like you've gone through any of that.
Yes, but I mean, I'm going to blow your mind away.
Blow my mind away.
I did 22 years in prison.
Are you serious? Why you didn't tell me that?
Yeah. Not only did I have adolescent issues with violence and aggression, but it spilled over into my adulthood.
Yeah.
And
wow.
Yeah. I ended up taking on a life crime.
Wow. Okay.
That cost me 22 years of my life.
22 years.
Yeah.
My God. So you're speaking from, you have a whole lot to share.
Yeah.
It's clear. Let's be clear. There's a lot to share. And I am so grateful that you have adopted one of my sayings, which is being transparent.
Yeah.
Because your transparency is someone else's road to recovery.
Yes.
So while we're talking about I do no longer exist in your marriage, you have given us some backstory on your reactions and your responses to
her. Yes. You know, in the context, because I want to be truthful.
Yeah.
That it wasn't just her. I had control issues. I had impulse control issues. I had high anxiety, you know, because of my experiences that again wasn't properly addressed. You know, I addressed it, but not properly.
Okay.
You know, they were still showing up and all that. And I didn't have tools, mindfulness, grind on tools, stuff like that. Yeah. You know, I was incarcerated, so they really didn't focus on those things.
Yeah.
Only they focus on good behavior, as for being disciplinary free, education, vocational training. Yeah. But the inner person, anger, sadness, depression, all these things that, you know, that we experiencing in there on a greater level. Mm-hmm. That was never addressed.
You know, right now there's a great program that you know who Fantasia is.
Yes.
Okay, so her husband has a program that he goes into the jails, and exactly what you're teaching, that is what he teaches to those who are incarcerated. Yes. And I think, and I'm sure you can speak from experience, that it's so necessary, you know, not just the education in there, but like, let's talk about life skills. Let's talk about the inner hurts, the inner pains, the inner traumas, so that when the person is released, they're not left to deal with those things again. And then what may possibly happen is they end up back in there. Now it just it just becomes, you know, a revolving door.
Yes.
So as an employee of the LA County Sheriff's Department for 23 years, I have seen some stuff.
Yes.
And I have worked at the jail, and I have supervised inmates. Yeah. And so I have seen some come, I've seen them go, I've seen the same ones come, and I've seen them go. You know, and I don't think at the time I really dove into what does he or she really need? Mm-hmm. You know, I understand now that the mindset has to change.
Got to change.
Because if the mindset doesn't change, the lens of which you're looking at a certain thing is going to be the same.
True.
So if you were to speak to a young man, and I say young man because you said at the age of 11, you began to deal with these things. If you were speaking, not even a young man, if you had to speak to the 11-year-old you, when did you go to prison?
I was 17.
17. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna ask you. The first question is, if you had to speak to the 11-year-old Anthony and encourage him in what it was that he was going through, what would you say?
Oh, that has been asked of me. That has been asked of me recently. I mean, the main thing again is it's environment first and foremost. Before we can even get to the point of 11-year-old, 17-year-old addressing their own internal issues, you have to change your environment. Because no longer, you know, the more you still work on yourself, you're still in that type of environment, you're going to be exposed to certain influences.
But I'm 11. How do I change my environment?
Yeah, I know. That's the problem. That's the dilemma.
Yeah.
Because that's what hurt my mother's heart, because she took it on so bad as far as my behavior. She put it on herself as for being responsible for it, because of again exposing me to certain things, right? Mm-hmm. But it wasn't her fault.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, we did the best we could. She did the best she could. And I hold her not accountable, meaning that I never one time thought my mom did me wrong or nothing like that. Or, you know, she loved me the best she could.
Yeah.
But I know that it was very difficult for me to change my behaviors in that environment. I know that for sure. So that's the first thing that, you know, is trying to instill in these young men some type of independence, autonomy, as for being your own self.
Okay.
Again, difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult under those type of pressures that I was under, the gang culture, certain things like that. You just can't be your own person. I'm telling you, that's almost, it ain't impossible, but it's almost impossible to be like that in that environment, right? So when you're talking about a young man who's looking up to these older guys and you know, pride ourselves on our reputation and things of that nature, you're gonna it's a group thing. You got to think like the group, right? Mm-hmm. So imagine you're trying to do internal change, but you got these external influences that's way greater than your ability to discipline yourself.
That's challenging.
Yeah, very, because again, we still going to church and all of that kind of stuff, but the outside environment still is dictating behaviors. Mm-hmm. We went to church every day, every Sunday. Yeah. Sometimes even Bible study.
Listen.
Oh, yeah.
It looked good.
Yeah. But when we stepped out in the streets amongst our peers, we did what they did, because we understood, because everything comes with consequences. Everything comes with consequences.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, that's the main thing is again to try to instill in them some type of confidence in self to challenge the norm.
Yeah.
Because there are exceptions. But we don't know that. But there are. There are men that never been in the gang, never experienced none of that stuff that I experienced, but lived in the hood.
Yeah.
Got dad, brothers, uncles from the project, from all of that.
Yeah.
But yet ain't had nothing to do with none of that.
Yep.
Those are exceptional.
Yes.
But you can cultivate that in other people. That can be cultivated. Mm-hmm. This is what I'm saying to you as for that 11-year-old, 17-year-old that I can talk to.
Gotcha.
That's what the conversation I'm trying to build, his confidence to want to stand tall on his own against all of that. Right? Because they have to be navigated a certain way. You just can't be like rebellious, talking about no and nah, and then talking about folks. That'll get you hurt.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to do it a certain way, but it can be done.
But it can be.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you have to believe it. You have to know it can. So, one thing that I did not know that I had the choice to choose to participate or not. I didn't know that. I thought that I had to. That's what I really.
This is what you saw. This is normal. Yeah. This is what we do.
Yes. So that's the education. Like, first of all, you do have a choice. Mm-hmm. That's first. You have a choice, and then help them cultivate that confidence to stand in that space.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's it. I was sitting here listening to you. I began to tear up real fast. I'm like, Tam, get it together.
Oh man,
and the tears is because I mean, just listening to your story and then knowing you today. I didn't know that, Anthony, right? No. So just watching, God's work, but that you are being very intentional about your healing, your continuing to heal, your maintenance in healing, and you are very aware of the things that you have. You're not saying, I'm just going to brush this under the rug and then we're going to keep it pushing. Yes. No. Did you have any proper therapy to begin your healing?
I did, but my clinical therapy came after I left my marriage. When I walked out that front door of my marriage,
a year ago.
Yeah, a year ago, in March.
What did you do prior to?
Well, again, only thing that I understood at the time was self-help. Okay. Again, mentorship. Okay. I have a lot of mentors, a lot.
And that's good
from my background. Yeah. Men of my experience. Yeah. They come back to counsel men like myself.
Gotcha.
I have a lot of those. So that's what I was filtering through. My mentors, again, they do have self-help and stuff like that. Where, where you learn it on your own type of thing. Right. You don't have a teacher. You just follow the course.
Right.
And if you understand, you understand. You don't, Yeah. You get it later. It'll come to you. Right? Mm-hmm. But my mentor was very influential as far as me realizing the error of my ways. As far as I just couldn't do certain things no more. You know what I mean? And I really had to
change in that environment.
Yeah. Certain things. I had to cut off my friends. I left the area. I had to leave it completely. I left the area completely.
Yeah.
So that was my mom's concern too, because I was freshly out of that environment of prison when I met my wife.
Okay.
Even though she's a childhood friend, but still, I was a whole new man when she came across me. She knew me from that old private lifestyle. That's how she knew me. Running the street, acting a fool.
Yeah.
So this new man of trying to get his life back, do things right for once, make my parents proud. That's who my mom was trying to protect from this girl that was still involved in some ways in that lifestyle. You know what I mean? She wasn't active in that lifestyle, but she was involved.
She was connected.
Yeah. She was with her family and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Wow. I commend you for doing the work, taking the steps, and even going to therapy and having your mentors. I think it's so important for us to have people who, two things. It's important for us to know and have people who are willing to help us that have gone through it.
Yes.
Right. Sometimes some folks, the only way of them receiving is by it being through someone who actually did it. And then you have some people that say, just teach me.
Yes.
You know, I don't care where you got it from, the book, your experience, but just teach me. But I think it's good to have both. Right. So I have mentors as well that have never been divorced, been married one time, you know, and they're still married. And they're my mentors. But I also have mentors who have been divorced, remarried, and, you know, so they're sharing from a different lens, of course. But the end goal is healing, right? In the same way that I always share that I'm not an advocate for divorce. I advocate for those who have gone through divorce but are ready to heal, who are ready to remove layers, ready to tap into the things that they feel is important that's going to help them become the best version of themselves, so to speak, you know? And so that's a day-by-day task. Like, you don't just wake up one day. I'm sure when you said, you know what? Okay, I accept. When your ex-wife said to you, you know, she was
didn't want
done.
to be married no more.
You didn't wake up the next day and just, well, did you? Did you wake up the next day? Because yours was a long time.
No, I'm talking about in that moment. Because I always was looking for an exit.
Got you. You was like, wait, what?
For over 11 years, I was looking for an exit. I was convinced that we didn't supposed to be together. But we was married. But I was convinced that we didn't supposed to be together. But we was married. But what caused me to get clinical therapy is because, you know, the marriage was so toxic and it was so harmful to me and her that it started me to revisit some of my old behaviors. This is what I want to point out to you. That anger, that response of being threatening, that came back. At the end of our marriage, before I walked away, I was starting to be that old person again. It got like that because I was so fed up being disrespected. I was so fed up with tolerating what I call crap that if I can't leave this marriage, I'm finna hurt something. That's how I started to think like that. I started behaving like that. Being aggressive towards her. And that's why I know I had to go. But when I left that now I left a situation where I still had that inside me. That aggression, that anger was there. I ain't in that marriage no more. I'm released out into the community, but I was an angry man because I was hurt. I felt utterly disrespected, and I was upset. So in talking to my mentor who was concerned, they was like, man, something going on with you. You ain't right. Because they said I had this look. They said something wrong with you, man. What's going on with you? Right. And I told them about, you know, I finally left my wife and all that kind of stuff. But they still wanted to know what's going on with you. Something's up with you. Right? Because I was harboring that. Right. I couldn't process it no more. Right. So talking to my therapist, and again, what's so funny, my therapist happened to be of my background. I didn't know this.
It happened to be what?
Of my background.
Oh, okay.
He come from the criminality of life and stuff like that, but he became a clinical licensed therapist and all that. I didn't know that. I just wanted some help because I just know I couldn't, my own self, I couldn't self-soothe no more. I just couldn't do it no more. I was just mad at this point, and that was just it. So by him, I'm talking to him about my dad, about my mom, about my life, you know, in my marriage. He helped introduce me to those tools where it was more applicable for me. I knew about grounding and mindfulness and all of that, but I never, you know, it didn't come with an example. It just come in theory. He helped me put it into practice.
That's good.
He helped me tap back into myself, calm my nervous system, you know what I mean, not being so activated, because I was hypervigilant. And when I say hypervigilant, I was looking for threats everywhere. As long as you're looking for threats, you're always going to be on guard in fight mode. Always. Right? And that's how I had got like that. I was, man, people could say anything. I was just going off. I'm saying my colleagues at work, you know what I mean, my family. They were like, boy, what's wrong with you? I was going off.
Like a bulldog.
I was going off. And I didn't even know what was going on with me. I didn't even know.
Jesus.
You know, but everything based on my experiences, I internalized as a threat. Even people around me was a threat to me. That's how I internalized what I was going through.
Yeah.
Everything was a threat.
Wow.
And how I dealt with a threat was,
that's
how I dealt with it.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
My God. This is good. This is good. I swear, this is so needed and necessary. Conversations like this, discussions like this need to be shared more often because it is happening more with, our youth and, our young adults or what have you. They need people like you. They need mentors like you. They need to see that it is possible. Like you said, it's hard. It's a lot, but it's not impossible.
It's not impossible.
And if you link up with the right people, if you lock arms with the right people and they show you like, hey, this is where I was and this is where I'm at today. And this is what I had to do. And so sharing those tools with other people, as you said, the therapist shared with you, he shared the tools, but he shared how to use them.
That's it.
Because I can hand you an entire toolbox and say, here, this is how you build a house.
Yeah.
What do I use this on? And what do I use that on? And so now we'll find ourselves using the hammer in areas that we really should be using a wrench.
Yeah.
And a wrench in areas where we really should be using something like, so now you have the tools, but you don't know how to use them. And I think that's where the education of tools, having the tools, I think that's where that comes. Like that's so important to know you have something is great.
Yeah.
But to know how to use it is greater.
Yeah.
So as a believer, we talk about, and we were just talking about this in our Bible study. We talk about putting on the full armor of God, but we know what the Bible says that we should do and what we should have. But like, what does that look like in action?
Yes.
So when you received how to use these tools, like I've had the tools.
Yes.
I've had this all my life.
Yeah.
But I never knew how to use them. I never was even given permission to use them.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody can give you something to say, don't use that just yet.
Yeah.
So, and that's what the enemy does. He said, I don't care that you have all the tools. Okay, kudos.
Yeah.
You can have everything as long as you don't begin to use them in the right place.
Yes.
When you use them in the wrong place, you're going to confuse some stuff. You're going to confuse some things, and that's what he wants as well. So I'm grateful that you were able to connect with someone who was able to share with you and show you how to use the tool, when to use the tool, where to use the tool, and on whom to use the tool with, right? And so, and you have a son.
Yes, I do. I have a biological son. Again, my marriage came with 5 children, so I have 5 stepchildren.
That's right.
Yeah, she had 5 kids. Matter of fact, the youngest was a year in 3 months when I met her.
Okay.
In that context of marriage.
Okay.
The oldest boy was 14. So she had 2 girls, 3 boys.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And then y'all had the son.
No, we don't have no kids.
You don't have no kids.
Yeah. When I was 15 years old, I had a son.
Okay, that's another layer to the story. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Understood. Oh my God.
Before all my chaos, I had a son. When I was really running wild, I had a son.
This is so good. This is so good. I hate that we have to end it, but this is so good.
Yes.
If you could leave something encouraging to those who are watching, just from the standpoint of healing.
Yeah.
Because that's my stance. Just from the standpoint of healing, the importance of healing, what would that be?
I mean, for us men, again, when we talk about healing, that's gender neutral, meaning that it don't apply to man, woman, it applies to human beings.
Yeah.
But a conversation that's not had enough is men talking about our issues. I mean, we just not enough. But vulnerability, that's what I want to say. What I'm saying about men as far as recovery and healing goes, we have to become vulnerable. Because as long as we're guarded, as long as we are afraid of someone, knowing things and using it against us, as long as that is present, we're not healing. We're not. We're just surviving.
Yeah.
So we have to become vulnerable. And it's scary. Trust me, after what happened to me, about all that I shared was used against me, I still found myself vulnerable.
Yeah.
I did. Because I wanted to change that bad.
Wow.
That's how bad I wanted to change and be a better person.
That's good.
That bad.
That's good. That's good. I'm so grateful. Well, Anthony, thank you so much for joining me today for this You are the kickoff of Let's Be Clear.
Yeah.
We haven't done this in some time, and so we are back. You guys, thank you so much. Please like and share this video with your friends, your colleagues, your family members. It is so necessary that we heal, right? And it is so important that we hear from the men. I have this thing about men sharing now, because for so long, you all have felt like you didn't have a voice to speak and to share. Like, as you said, healing does not have a gender. It's not gender-based, right? So embarrassment does not have a gender. Pain does not have a brokenness. It's no gender, right? And so if we as women are given permission to share and talk and complain and rant and all of that, you all should have the same opportunity to do. And I'm so grateful that over these past couple of years, it's been a little bit more prevalent with you all speaking. And so again, I want to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing. You will be back. Listen, this is not the end. You're definitely one of the Life After Divorce movement people. So there's a lot of things that we have coming up that we'll be inviting you to be a part of. And so again, I want to say thank you. All right, you guys, thank you so much. We are so grateful that we have Mr. Nix that has shared his story, shared pieces of his story, as you can see and as you heard. We know it's so much more, right? And we're going to get it out of him one way or the other, so that we can all continue to heal, you guys. Remember, there is life after divorce, and let's live.